Hey guys, welcome back. Bolt Spider here. Today we're going to be going over my ban list predictions for the late April, or early May Forbidden and Limited list. Now, this could also come out in June, but we'll have to see on that as we have no clue when we're going to get it. It could be another 2-month or maybe into a 3-month format, but we do have Legendary Collection 25th Anniversary Edition coming out on April 20th and Cyberstorm Axis coming out on May 3rd. So it could be anytime at the end of this month or even into next month, because we only have 2 major sets coming out, being Cyberstorm Axis and Wild Survivors. But we also have a whole line of events as well. So I think best bet is going to be this month. So let's get into the predictions, as there's quite a bit of them that we need to go over and talk about. Now, for this format, I do want to hit a few cards here and there, mostly the toxic ones or hitting power levels of decks. Now, the first card we have is going to be our lovely friend, Branded Expulsion. This card is a card that is being used in branded decks just to scythe lock people with Gimmick Puppet Nightmare, or even stuff like Ra's Disciple. Now, this is exactly like Halqifibrax. Why would you hit 3+ cards instead of hitting the problem? This is a major problem because it makes it where your opponent cannot play, which, in my opinion, is not a good idea. Outside of that, this card is actually getting to the point of being very toxic, which leads into the next card as well, because this card I definitely want to see go. The next card that we have on our prediction list is going to be number 89, Diabolus the Mind Hacker. This card gives you free information of what your opponent's playing, on top of many other things, by banishing their resources from deck and banishing their resources from graveyard face down. This combined with Kashtira is a devastating threat, as it can lock multiple zones in one turn. Most I've seen so far has been a total of, I think it was 6 zones if you can get Double Shanger Era out, along with a Mind Hacker to banish those cards face down. You can even go up to a full zone lock on the next turn if you banish one of their cards face down via something like Unicorn, Fenrir, or even any of their spells or traps, or even Kashtira Ogre. So in my opinion, this card is the card that definitely needs to go. Being a utility rank 7 for the deck, bringing toxicity into the game, and making people frustrated against the deck. Next up, we have the limited section. We're first going to be going over Blaster, Dragon Ruler of Infernos. This card right here, single-handedly, isn't going to do a thing. This is one of the worst Dragon Rulers in existence nowadays compared to what it was back 10 years ago. Blaster discards itself and another dragon or a fire from your hand to the graveyard, or actually one fire monster to the graveyard, to target a card on the field and destroy it. Every deck has destruction, non-targeting, and also multiple different types of destruction or removal that is better. Outside of that, I feel like Blaster could safely go back to 1, like OCG and Master Duel. Next up, we have Bystial Magnamut. Bystial Magnamut is, I wanted to put down to 1 because it kind of curves what Bystials can do, being able to replace itself with a Lubellion or another Bystial name for another hand trap, and also this is to future-proof future formats as well. The engine itself is still pretty strong, but in the current format, it is one of the weakest hand trap lineups that you can run, but it still sees play here and there depending on the matchup. Outside of that, this card also hinders some Dragon Link decks to stop giving you extenders. Afterwards, we have the brand new tuner that just came back to 1, Glow Bulb. Glow Bulb is at 1 in the OCG, and we also have Revolution Synchron coming out within the next few months. OCG is getting Duel's Nexus this month in April, so we'll see what they could do with synchro strategies. Glow Bulb single-handedly was only banned because Halqifibrax, and now we're at the point where Nature's Healing, where all these tuners are coming back off the list because Halqifibrax is gone. Now in the TCG, we don't have Halq, we don't have Auroradon, we don't have Link Cross, and we also don't have many other cards like Galaxy Tomahawk, Denlong, and Ib. So this card is safe to say can come back to 3 in my opinion, but I'm putting it to 1 for now until next prediction. After that, we have a main hit to Kashtira, being Kashtira Unicorn. This card searches out Theosis and Birth, being able to go into your full entire turn combo, just off from one special summon. Hitting this card is really the only hit you can do. Fenrir's got a ultimate printing, which I like to exclude those. Also, Theosis Planet are secret rares, along with a Rise Heart, so those are excluded as well. This was a toss-up between Unicorn and Birth, but in my opinion, Kashtira Unicorn is one of the better ones because it gets free knowledge of the extra deck like Mind Hacker. So limiting this definitely hurts the consistency a little. Afterwards, for the next card that we're going to be putting onto the list or releasing off is my good friend Harp Horror. Orcust Harp Horror, or Orcust in general, has seen the light of day, but hasn't really been doing much because of the power creep that this game had in the past 4 years. Orcust Harp Horror was banned in 2020, along with Engage Stalio and a few other cards that are now currently back legal, like Engage at 1 and Stalio at 3, along with Circle at 3. But in my opinion, this card can go back to 1 or 3 and it won't change anything. Next up, we have Runic Fountain. Oh no, we have Sprite Jet. Sprite Jet is one of these cards that can definitely push a lot of decks to the limit, along with many other Sprite cards that you can run in the engine. Sprite Jet, Grab Starter, Smashers, Double Cross, so multiple different types of interruptions or extensions. And also, we have Sprite Starter going down to 1. These two cards single-handedly make a whole entire engine for Sprite and are the power cells of Sprite. So both of these cards can, in my opinion, go down to 1 since we're way past the threshold of these cards being safe for getting hit. Power of the Elements is not getting a reprint in the tins, so these two cards could definitely go to the wayside. Now, next up, we actually have Runic Fountain. This is one of the main cards that Runic plays. It's a 3 of no matter what in any deck. Sometimes it's a 2 of depending if space is there. But this card allows you to activate your Runic quick play spells during your opponent's turn. It is making what Magical Musket wanted to do, but better. It also, once per turn, if you activated a Runic quick play spell, you could target up to 3 Runic quick play spells in your graveyard, place them on the deck in any order, and draw 3. So essentially, this card allows you to deep draw, recycle, and it's not a hard once per turn. Putting to 1 hurts Runic enough where they have to be very careful about the Fountain, and they have to play Fountain Protect. But I don't know about you guys, but this card can definitely go down to 1, even with new support coming around the horizon. Afterwards, we have one last limit being Skill Drain. Skill Drain is one of these cards that, in my opinion, shouldn't have went back to 3. It is a toxic floodgate, and with OCG just now putting it back, or putting to 1, and I don't know how long, this card definitely deserves to be at 1 no matter what, because decks will start picking it up and playing who could stun out whose monsters first. And in my opinion, I really don't like floodgates, so this card can definitely go. Next up, we have the semi-limits. We have Salamangreat Gazelle to promote the new Fire Duels pack if we ever get it, or the new Salamangreat support that might get split up, but who knows about that. This card single-handedly went down to 1 because 2019 was a year where anything could really top, and Salamangreat was one of the best decks of the format. One of the weaker ones, but still one of the best. Now, after that, we have a lovely card, Draco Faceoff. This card has been at 3 or at 1 ever since Pepe was a thing back in 2015. And in my opinion, it definitely could go back up to 3 if TCG decides to do so. This card single-handedly can get you a free Pendulum Scale or a free monster on the board and a free monster in your extra deck to Pendulum Summon later. But in my opinion, this card could also stay at 1 if we get Zark support in Age of Overlord. Being able to get multiple different Luster Pendulums out of the deck very quickly can be very, very tedious to deal with, but in my opinion, I feel like this card is definitely one of those cards that has fallen off for quite some time. Next up, we have a very controversial card of being Sky Striker Mobilize Engage going to 2, with Battle Legends Monstrous Revenge having reprints to Sky Striker cards, and maybe along with imports to new Sky Striker cards, I can definitely see this card going up to 2. This card single-handedly can cause some weird situations, but in my opinion, This card is one of the cards that I really think could go back up more in copies. Since Sky Strikers, they really have just lost their power since other decks do what they do better nowadays. Even though we have a few more cards than what they do. Next up, we have Unlimits. We have Gen X Ally, Birdman, and Steam the Cloak, Red Rose Dragon, all going to 3 because these 3 are just sitting there on the ban list doing nothing. People were on Steam the Cope for a bit. Red Rose Dragon was banned or limited because of Hulk, and Birdman was there for quite some time, but in my opinion, it could go back to 3. Steam the Cope was a card that was banned because of Hulk way back in 2020, but honestly, put this card to 3. It's not going to hurt anything. Red Rose Dragon was only used in an Engine for Adventure Synchro, but that deck is kind of dead now. And Birdman was there for an FTK that is kind of bad nowadays. All 3 of these cards are tuners. Sure, it helps out Duel's Nexus in my opinion, and putting them all back to 3, they won't really do much for the game. For what we know for the future, and we don't know what else is going to be coming off the list over time. Next up, we have our lovely, lovely, beautiful friend, Phantom Skyblaster. This card is definitely a card that was played in 2018-2019 because of Thunder Dragons, just to summon out a couple tokens so you can go into Saryuja, but this card just wastes a normal summon nowadays, and it really doesn't do much. This card just been sitting and decaying on the list like every other card that I've mentioned that has been decaying on the list for quite some time. And I feel like it's time to move on from this phase. We put Scapegoat back to 3, and it hasn't done much, so this card can also go back to 3, in my opinion. After that, we have Spellbook of Judgment. People were scared for this card to go up to 1. It has not done anything. Put it to 3, it still will have the same effect. This card is a 2 of at best, maybe 3 of, depending on the build. And I've been wanting this card back to 3 for a long time. And now I probably will have it. We have Sky Striker Mecha Modules Multi-Roll. What is my tongue doing? This is another controversial take, but in my opinion, this card can go up to 3. Since it's one of the cards that people only ran 1 or 2 of them at most back in when it was meta. But in my opinion, this card could go to 3, and people are still going to play 1 or 2. 3 bricks, 2 is good just in case if 1 gets destroyed, but other than that, this card really doesn't do anything anymore, in my opinion. Next up, we have the beautiful Ancient Fairy Dragon. This card got errataed, and it hasn't been seeing play in either TCG or OCG. So honestly, this card can go back to 3. For all I care, this card really hasn't met his expectations. And also, finally, we have Lyrilless Restless Starling. Why is this card at 2? This card went down to 1. They banned some more back in 2021. This card went up to 2 recently, and it's been stuck at 2 for a little bit. So this card can just go back to 3, and it's not going to change much about what plays what. But I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I had to do a re-recording of the audio because apparently the audio was muted. But anyways, I hope you guys did enjoy. See you guys in the next video, and let me know what you think about my predictions. Anyways, goodbye.